What if I told you that the difference between the people who build the life they want and the people who just think about it isn't timing, money, or even confidence? It's their willingness to take a risk before they feel ready. Today, we're talking about how to know when taking a risk is actually the right move and the three things I wish I knew before I took my first one. What if your 401k came with a fire pit and a lake view? That's the question that inspired it all. I'm Katie Klein, and living in New York City meant buying a home felt impossible. So I decided to flip the script and buy my second home first. When I'm not there, it doubles as a short-term rental, covering its costs, building equity, and even turning a profit. And best of all, it gives me a place to vacation for free. What 401k can do that? Every week, join me as we hear from real people who've done the same and experts who can help you do it too. If you thought owning any home, let alone a second one, was out of reach, this is the show for you. This is Second Home First. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Second Home First. I'm your host, Katie Klein, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today. Thank you so much for joining me. Last week, I was up in Lake George as I had to renew our short-term rental permit. And as I was standing outside of Town Hall with my shiny, newly laminated permit in hand, it hit me. We've been doing this for 3 years now. 3 years. That may not sound like a lot of time, but honestly, I can't believe it's been that long. I feel like we just got started. Typically, when I look back, I spend way too much time focusing on the things I didn't do. In fact, a friend and I were just talking about this weekend. She was beating herself up over selling her Jersey City condo years ago instead of holding on to it and letting it appreciate. And I was lamenting that I should have tried to find a way to buy a one-bedroom pre-war apartment in Astoria that was listed for $350,000 10 years ago and is now listed for close to $800,000. Do you know how productive that conversation was? Not at all, because we can't change the past. But walking into town hall to renew that permit, that felt different because instead of focusing on what I should have done, I was standing there reflecting on something that I did do, a decision that, quite frankly, terrified me at the time. Even though my backup plans had backup plans, my brain still told me to run. Abort mission, abandon ship. Internally, I was terrified, and externally was even harder. The amount of well-meaning people in my life who told me I was throwing my money away on rent or that I was going to get myself underwater, it got in my head. Because when you're taking a real risk, something where you genuinely do not know how it's going to turn out, it's human nature to look for validation, to want someone to tell you that this is a smart move, that you should go for it, that it's all going to work out exactly the way you want it to. But no one can give you that. That's what makes it a risk. Now, I can look back and confidently say that buying our first vacation home was the best decision I've ever made. That one choice alone changed the trajectory of my life. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but I mean it. Because of that first house, I launched my first podcast, Sweet Success, which in less than a year was acquired by Skift. Because of that podcast, I had the confidence to launch this one. Because of that house, we went on to buy 2 more properties. I started co-hosting, started earning money outside of my day job, and even created the Second Home First Academy. And speaking of which, side note, due to popular demand, we have just opened registration for the next Academy class starting May 13th. In just 5 weeks, I'll teach you the exact 4-step framework that I used to find, finance, and furnish my 3 vacation homes so that you can do it too. If you're looking for more income, more options, and more freedom in your life, and you like the idea of owning a vacation home that pays for itself, I really hope you'll join us. Spots are limited, so be sure to visit buyyoursecondhomefirst.com/academy to sign up and use code podcast for 40% off. I'll drop all of that information in the show notes in case you're interested. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Finding the right cleaning team has been absolutely crucial to the success of my second homes. They're my eyes and ears on the property when I'm not there, spotting issues early, keeping standards high, and helping me wow guests time and again. But finding someone local you actually trust? That wasn't always easy until I found Turno. Turno connects you with vetted cleaners who understand the demands of short term rentals in your specific market. Their app makes everything simple, from auto scheduling your cleans to photo and video checklists that ensure your property looks exactly the way you want, and even automatic payments after each clean is completed. Click the link in the show notes to check out Turno and get $25 off your first cleaning.
You've finally bought your dream vacation home. Now what? Your goal is for it to pay for itself, but between managing bookings, guest messages, and cleaners, it can feel like a full time job. That's where Logify comes in. Logify is a comprehensive vacation rental platform that makes it easy to manage and market your second home, even if you're just getting started. From syncing your calendar across Airbnb, Vrbo, and Booking.com to automating payments and guest communication, Logify simplifies it all. It's built for beginners and comes with free one on one onboarding to help you get up and running fast. From now until April 30th, Logify is offering Second Home First listeners 60% off their yearly and bi yearly plans using code SHF60. That's S as in second, H as in home, F as in first, 60. Click the link in the show notes to get started. And now back to the show. Anyway, what I realized this weekend, reflecting on the last 3 years, is this: time is going to pass no matter what, whether we take action or not, whether we're scared or not. In the beginning of the year, I started using fear as my litmus test. I don't mean this in a jump out of a plane, put my hand in a box of spiders kind of way. Absolutely not. Gross. I mean this in a I would pay attention to my body's reaction and ask myself, does it terrify me? And if the answer was a sheepish yes, then I'd try it. If something made me a little uncomfortable, a little nervous, that became a signal. Lately, that's evolved into a new question. When I am on my deathbed, looking back at my life, which am I going to regret more? Taking the risk and failing, or staying safe and wondering what if? For me, that's an easy answer because I can't imagine anything worse than getting to the end of your life and wondering what could have happened if I had just let myself try. If you've been listening for a while, you know I am a very calculated person, a recovering perfectionist, you can say. So I'm talking about thoughtful, intentional risks, ones where the downside is manageable, but they are still risks nonetheless. We spend so much time trying to figure out the perfect moment to take a risk, when in reality, the people who actually flourish in life are the ones who figure out how to jump before they're ready, how to move without certainty. So today, 3 years in, I want to share the 3 things I wish I knew when I was getting started so that we can stop beating ourselves up over all the things we should have done or could have done and get laser focused on the next action we're going to take. So, number one, give yourself a psychological safety net. I don't think that this is talked about enough. Everyone talks about taking the leap, but no one talks about how to make that leap feel safe enough to actually take. When we were considering our first property, I asked myself, what is the absolute worst case scenario here? And for us, the answer was simple. What if no one rents it and we make $0? Okay, now we know. So instead of avoiding that thought, we planned for it. We made sure that we could cover the mortgage without rental income. We made sure that our down payment wasn't money we needed for something else. And we used a 0% interest credit card to furnish the home, giving ourselves 18 months to pay it off. So even if things didn't go perfectly, we had time. And that changed everything. Because once you understand your worst case scenario and realize it's survivable, the risk becomes a lot less scary. And that's very different from waiting until everything feels perfect. For example, if I had waited until I could pay for that house in cash, I'd still be waiting for a very long time, for decades. So that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about finding a way to give yourself that psychological safety so you feel empowered to actually take that risk. Number two, tune out the noise. I'm not going to lie, this one is hard. There's a big difference between crowdsourcing opinions to make a well informed choice of your own versus letting the naysayers hold you back. After we bought our first vacation home, we very quickly saw how well this was working. And long story short, we made an offer that was accepted on our second property less than a year after closing on our first. I will never forget my dad's reaction when I told him we were under contract on a second place. He could not look me in the eye. He was shaking his head and saying, I don't understand. You're going to own two places and not live in either of them. You're going to get yourself underwater. And that was really hard to hear because honestly, he was voicing my deepest worries, my deepest fears. And it made me wonder, does he know something I don't? Am I missing something? I think it's a good idea, but maybe I'm wrong. And that self doubt can be the most heartbreaking thing of all. Somewhere in my core, I knew I should take that risk. But when you hear someone doubt you, especially someone you love and care about, it can give a whole new level of credibility to those fears. While we're on the topic, don't let others' reactions affect you either. After we purchased our second property, I noticed something interesting. A lot of the people who were excited for us the first time around got a lot quieter the second time. And I don't think it was malicious. I think it was just unfamiliar. It didn't fit the story they had in their head of what was normal or possible. And when something doesn't fit someone else's framework, it's easy to dismiss it. It's easier to do that than to get curious about it. That's what fascinated me the most, how rare it was for someone in our lives to say to me, Hey, how did you guys do that? Or ask me how much money I was making from it or how much money I was spending to make it happen. At first, by and large, no one really asked anything. It was almost as if they had decided that we must be rich or at least had more money than they had assumed. We must have had a stockpile of cash that would allow us to just buy houses on a whim. And that's why I'm happy to be connected with all of you who are listening, who are watching, because we are not the type of people who make assumptions, especially not when those assumptions think that there is something we are incapable of having. It's just not true. Just by listening to this podcast, you are opening your mind to other opinions, an alternative to the way that you might have been told things had to be done. And the beauty of this community is that when it might feel like everyone else is questioning our untraditional approach, the rest of us are here cheering you on and doing things differently too.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. When I was finally ready to rent out my vacation home, I had no idea what to charge guests. Thankfully, that's when I found Price Labs, a dynamic pricing tool that helps me automate pricing like a pro. It's simple. Price Labs uses real time data to automatically adjust my rates based on local demand, nearby events, and booking trends. It's easy to use, lets me set my own minimum and maximum prices, and keeps my pricing smart and competitive without any manual work. If you want your vacation home to pay for itself or even turn a profit, you need Price Labs to help you get the most from every booking. Visit the link in the show notes and enter code Second Home First, all one word, for a 30-day free trial plus $10 off your first invoice. Interior design is one of my favorite parts of buying a second home. I love creating a beautiful space. But let's be honest, staying on budget, managing orders, tracking deliveries, and juggling countless retailers can get overwhelming fast, which is why so many hosts turn to Minoan. With Minoan, you can shop more than 180 brands you love all in one place. That's brands like Crate and Barrel, Samsung, Anthropologie, Article, Casper, and so many more. They give you access to better than trade pricing, something typically reserved for professional designers, allowing you to save on every purchase. They keep every order, delivery, and receipt organized in one clean dashboard. And the best part, there's no membership fee, no subscription, no catch, just a streamlined approach with big savings. Once your second home is set up, Minoan can even make it shoppable. Your place basically becomes a four-walled influencer. So after guests spend a weekend obsessing over your couch or those sheets or that coffee maker, they can scan your QR code and order the exact same item for their own home. You earn a commission, no extra work required. To furnish smarter, visit minoan.com/second home to sign up and receive a free $25 in credit.
If you're listening to the show, I know making memories with family and friends is super important to you. And that's why I'm excited to introduce you to Flightographer. Flightographer connects travelers with local photographers in more than 350 destinations around the world. But it's more than just a photo shoot. It's a way to capture meaningful memories and experience a place through a local's lens. When I look back on past Flightographer photo shoots I've done, I don't just see pictures, but special moments preserved. I remember the feeling of that day and the story behind every shot. Whether you're celebrating a milestone birthday, a family vacation, or a special getaway to your second home, Flightographer is there to capture the moments you never want to forget. To book your own Flightographer shoot, visit the link in the show notes and use code SHF25. That's S as in second, H as in home, F as in first, 25 to get $25 off your first shoot. And now back to the show. Okay, finally, number 3. The risks don't get any less scary as you continue, but you do start to trust yourself more. By the time we bought our third property, I was definitely more confident. I knew what I was looking for. I understood the numbers. I knew how to set it up. I trusted myself that this was the right decision to make. But was I fearless? Not even close. There's a real estate podcaster that I like, Dave Meyer, and he's been investing for more than 15 years, maybe even 20 years. And I remember him saying on a podcast that every single time he sits down at a closing table and signs a contract, he feels nervous. And that was a light bulb moment for me. If he still feels nervous, then I can just write off nerves as par for the course. We closed on that third property when I was 2 months postpartum, which in hindsight is slightly unhinged. And that leads to another relevant point. Every time we take a risk and build our confidence, we start to uplevel our dreams. If I told the version of me that was terrified to buy our first property that in just 3 years, she would make an offer on a third house, sight unseen, after only a FaceTime tour, I would have probably said no effing way. So, yes, you are absolutely starting to trust yourself more. But because of that, you're also going to go after bigger, more audacious things, which means your 100th risk is going to feel just as scary as your first because objectively, you're taking on bigger and bigger challenges. When I bought my first property, I never thought I'd get to 3. And now that I'm here, I'm actively trying to find a way to buy a hotel or a motel. Words I didn't even dare to think, let alone consider 3 years ago. Am I now confident in my ability to do that because of what I've done to date? Absolutely not. But the fact that I'm even dreaming that big is proof of how much one decision can expand what you believe is possible for yourself. And that's the part no one really talks about when it comes to taking a risk. Doing so doesn't just change your outcome, it changes your identity. It changes the way you view yourself, and it changes what you believe you're capable of. So, if there's something you're considering, an idea you keep coming back to, a risk that feels a little scary, I want you to ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario? Can I survive it? And what will I regret more, failing or not trying? Because 3 years ago, I didn't have all the answers. I didn't feel ready. And I certainly didn't know how everything would turn out. I still don't. But I did it anyway. And now, 3 years later, I'm able to look back and confidently say that the cost of waiting would have been far greater than the cost of getting it wrong. Thanks for listening to Second Home First. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to sign up for my free weekly newsletter at buyyoursecondhomefirst.com, where I share the simple 4-step strategy to help you do the same. If you have a minute to subscribe, rate, or review the show, or even send a favorite episode to a friend, that would mean the absolute world to me. And if you want to be a guest on the show, have a question you want answered, or a topic you think I should cover, send me a note at hello@buyyoursecondhomefirst.com or on social media at buyyoursecondhomefirst. I personally read and respond to every single message. Once again, I'm your host, Katie Klein, and I can't wait to see you all again next week. The content shared on Second Home First is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making any investment or financial decisions.